right, best way to review. We have our mapping, and then the other best way to help us review is our timeline. So I'm going to go ahead on this red line. I like to draw it right up here because then that leaves me enough space underneath to add information. Pretty soon we will start doing our timeline across 2 pages to make sure we have enough space underneath. But for right now, we can just follow right on that red line. All right, so here we go. We have 7 events that we have to know through the state of Texas. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 7 lines out here. I'm going to leave just a little bit more space right here because I got more stuff to write. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you don't have to be spaced exactly, but that's how I'm going to do it. All right, best way to remember is that mnemonic phrase, these events. We have to know these events and these dates. We say, my cat just vomited. Ugh, so gross. My cat just vomited purple marshmallows after riding carousels. So the cat's spinning, spinning, spinning. Blech. And what do cats like to do after they vomit? Ugh, they lick it up. Licking purple colored watery because it's a little watery, right? Super gross. My cat just vomited purple marshmallows after riding carousels, licking purple colored water. We know these events. We're going to go ahead and start filling in these events. Of course, starting with my cat, that is the Magna Carta in 1215. My cat just vomited, Magna Carta. JV is Jamestown, Virginia. VA, that is in 1607. And that's town up there. I know it's a little pushed together. My cat just vomited purple marshmallows. That is Plymouth, Massachusetts in 1620. Or as the kids like to say, Plymouth. Plymouth. My cat just vomited purple marshmallows after riding. This is the American Revolution. That starts July 4th, 1776, and it's going to end in 1783. My cat just vomited purple marshmallows after riding carousels. This is going to be none other than the Constitution, 1787. My cat just vomited purple marshmallows after riding carousels, licking purple, Louisiana Purchase in 1803. It doubles the size of the United States. CW, colored water, Civil War. It starts in 1861. And it ends in 1865. So we have our dates, we have our events that we have to know. It is about connecting these events, understanding how the Magna Carta causes the Civil War. So here we go. Magna Carta, the idea that comes from the Magna Carta is this idea of limited government. The government can't just do what it wants. It has to follow the rules that have been established and put in place for our government. And so, in 1607, when the colonists come to Jamestown, Virginia for economic reasons, I'm going to put that economic symbol right there, they say, okay, when we come to Jamestown, Virginia for economic reasons, we know that we have limited government. We are going to add to this idea with representative government. We are going to elect people to help make rules for this. For us. How do we know they have a representative government? Well, we know about their House of Burgesses. So then in 1620, when the colonists show up in Plymouth, Massachusetts for religious reasons, my Puritans, there's my cross, making sure I'm making that a cross. They say, okay, we have limited government. We have representative government. We are going to add to it with self-government. We know they had self-government because they signed the Mayflower Compact. And this Mayflower Compact helped them create a democracy. The people have a voice. We're going to take it upon ourselves to have a government. Now, technically, were they supposed to do this stuff? No, they weren't. But does the king stop them? He doesn't. He ignores them. That is called salutary neglect. Why does the king ignore them? Well, he gets his money, and also he's just too far away. He's too far to really do anything about it. He can't really stop them. He is too far away. Now, one thing's going to change it. Something's going to change it all, and that is going to be the French and Indian War. The French and Indian War ends salutary neglect. Because of the debt from the French and Indian War, the king's going to start to care. He's going to start to send soldiers, and he's going to start to unfairly tax our colonists. No taxation without representation. All right, and so how do we remember those acts that were put on our colonists? We tell ourselves, Nate Smith saves quarters daily to buy better iPhones. Nate Smith saves quarters daily to buy better iPhones. If you memorize this, your causes of the revolution is a lot easier. The first one, of course, actually goes back to the beginning, which is the Navigation Act. It says you cannot trade with anybody but England. That is an example of mercantilism. French and Indian War changes it right here. Then we have the French and Indian War. So the king's going to start to tax the colonists, and we get the Sugar Act. That doesn't work because they keep smuggling goods in. So then we get the Stamp Act. That is a tax on printed materials. Colonists don't like it. They create the Stamp Act Congress. They boycott. They don't buy. No taxation without representation. They create a committee of correspondence for information to travel. King sends more soldiers. Colonists have to house them. That is the Quartering Act, providing shelter, food, anything that these soldiers need. Colonists don't like it. They're going to scream. They're going to yell. The king is going to scream louder. He says you have to follow the laws in the Declaratory Act. And oh, by the way, I still need my money. So in order to get my money, I'm going to put an indirect tax collected at seaports. It is the Townsend Act. Glass, lead, paper, paint, tea, anything that is British, you're going to pay a tax on it. But we're going to pay it off the ship. The merchants are going to pay it. The colonists aren't stupid. They know the price is going up, especially the colonists in Boston, Massachusetts. They know what's happening. They're on the coast. They're a port city. And so they're going to yell. They're going to scream. They're going to throw snowballs with clamshells. And that leads us to the Boston Massacre, where 5 colonists die, including the man named Crispus Attucks. Don't forget that man. Paul Revere makes a painting. It blames the British soldiers. Colonists are still mad. Sons of Liberty are sitting around one night. They say, hey, we're not putting up with it anymore. We don't like these taxes. We don't like the Tea Act. And so they get up and they decide to dump the tea into Boston Harbor. And we get the Boston Tea Party, where they dump the tea into the Boston Harbor. King gets upset. He is going to punish the colonists no more. And that is when he passes the Intolerable Acts. This closes the port of Boston. It suspends town meetings, the town legislature. It sends more soldiers and puts them under martial law. All right, I need you to pay close attention to this with our timeline, because we're going to actually go to a new page. And on this, I want to give it its very own timeline. I'm going to turn us upside down. I'm going to turn us right side up. These are our events of the American Revolution. And we're going to give them its own page, and we have a special timeline that we use to do this. Let me see if I can straighten us out just a little bit. Move back just forward. Here we go. Thank you for being so patient with me. All right. Our timeline for the American Revolution that we will be doing on Timeline Tuesday also is, first we're going to start with a mnemonic phrase. To remember the events of the American Revolution, we're going to write this mnemonic phrase out. We're going to tell ourselves, let's devour some very yummy tacos. So, our mnemonic phrase to help us remember these events. Let's devour some very yummy tacos. With our American Revolution, we are going to do this on a V. Now, what could V stand for? Well, V is, of course, victory. They are going to win. But it's also that we start off at the top. We're feeling really good. We're going to win the war. Oh, man, we're losing. Turning point. And we start making our way back up. Let's devour some very yummy tacos. Here's how this goes. Let's, at the top, we're feeling good, devour some very yummy tacos. Let's devour some very yummy tacos just like that. The let's we've already studied. This is none other than the battles at Lexington and Concord. The shots heard round the world. Start of a revolution, right? I don't really rhyme, but it sounds good. Lexington and Concord, the shots heard around the world.
Pardon the interruption.
Ooh, we have an announcement. I'm sorry.
Please
Hold
stop by Miss
I've already been
Furnace's
recording.
class before leaving
10
for the
minutes.
weekend and pick up your flags, please.
There we go. Let's devour some very yummy tacos. Lexington and Concord, the shots heard around the world. So they're feeling pretty good. They think the king will listen to them. They're going to have the Second Continental Congress meet to discuss what to do. The king doesn't listen, so they finally decide to declare independence. And so our D is the Declaration of Independence, of course, July 4th, 1776. You might say, but why isn't that at the top? Because even though they declared independence, they still weren't sure. And unfortunately, they were losing. They weren't doing too good. They had some battles and some skirmishes that they won, but overall, they don't have the money. They don't have the supplies. They don't have the manpower. They're losing until they win at the Battle of Saratoga. It is going to be the victory at the Battle of Saratoga in which Ben Franklin is going to be in France, and he convinces them to help. And so France is going to become our ally. We are going to get help from the French. Ben Franklin, Frenchie Franklin, convinces them to help us, convinces France to help us, to send money, to send supplies, to send military officers, Marquis de Lafayette, after the Battle of Saratoga. And so we start winning. We start doing well. We're going to spend that winter training at Valley Forge. And so they're going to spend the winter training, learning how to be better. And so we're going to move up. We're going to start winning. We're going to win more. Our major victory happens at Yorktown. George Washington surrounds Lord Cornwallis, forces them to surrender. We're going to have a major win in 1781 at Yorktown. Of course, it takes a while to officially end the war, and this is going to be at the top. See how I did that? T-O-P. And that actually is going to stand. Ooh, I'm going to write it up here. You can write it wherever. I know I just have this in the way. The top stands for the Treaty of Paris, 1783. That is going to officially end the American Revolution. Let's devour some very yummy tacos. Lexington, Declaration, Saratoga, Valley Forge, Yorktown, the top, Treaty of Paris, 1783.